I think it's time we blow this scene. Get everybody in the stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
So the other day, Disney and Lucasfilm announced yet another new saga of Star Wars films entering production. This one by Game of Thrones creators D.B. Weiss and David Benioff. We don't know too much about the location of the saga or where it's going to fit into time-wise, but what we do know is that it will be separate from the main Skywalker saga, as well as Rian Johnson's trilogy that was announced just a few months back. As with most modern Star Wars stuff, the fandom has been pretty divided about this. Some are stoked by the news, while others are kind of skeptical. Myself, well, let me start with my thoughts on the people behind it. First of all, let me get a geeky confession off my chest. I know next to nothing about Game of Thrones. I think I can count the number of episodes I've seen on one hand. That's how bad it is. It's not that I dislike the show by any means. It's just that there were a bunch of shows I was watching when I first got into it. I fell behind, and unfortunately I never really caught up with it again. However, I am aware that millions of people, some I know personally, adore the show. It has gotten lots of praise over the years, particularly for its writing. So on that front, I'm actually pretty encouraged. Here's what worries me, though. So assuming that this is going to be a trilogy, and the Obi-Wan spin-off still ends up happening, that means we're going to have a total of 18 Star Wars movies. To me, personally, that might lead to some franchise fatigue. And yes, I know Star Wars has always existed in a massive galaxy, and the possibility of different stories has been explored in books, TV shows, and even video games. But film in itself seems like a different beast entirely. To me, one of the things that made Star Wars so special was that it did so much with so little, and the idea of a new film coming was genuinely exciting. However, now with 2 different trilogies in the waiting, it almost feels like too much. Almost as if this franchise is turning into James Bond or Marvel, and that just doesn't feel like Star Wars to me. And I will admit, let me stop here before any of you get angry at me, the little kid in me would love to see Star Wars movies every year until the day I die, but the adult in me right now is definitely thinking, okay, ease off the throttle there, Space Cowboy. And that's my only real concern here, but as you've probably put together, it's a big concern. That being said, of course, there is a positive to come out of this. As I've confirmed earlier, these films are supposed to exist outside of the Skywalker saga, which means they could go pretty much anywhere. And yes, this Wars nerd has an idea for what he'd like to see. I would love, capital L, capital O, capital V, capital E, love to see the Star Wars underworld explored. Just, you know, see bounty hunters and the scum of the galaxy in their natural environment. We could see 1313 of Coruscant come alive, and hey, maybe even see the debut of some fan-favorite bounty hunters like Cad Bane and Hondo Ohnaka. I think that would be really cool. And that's just one idea I have. I'm sure my fellow Star Wars fan base has already conjured up plenty as well. So, ultimately, while I am concerned about the crowded slate of movies, nonetheless, I am interested to see where this whole thing is going to go. It may be a long time to wait, but I want to know where in the galaxy the Game of Thrones creators are going to take us. So those are my thoughts on the newly announced Star Wars movies, but I want to know what you guys think. Do you agree with my thoughts? Do you think my concerns are warranted? And what kind of ideas do you have for these films? Whatever the case, let me know in the comments below, and until next time, see ya, Space Cowboys!